Hello, and welcome to the podcast that discusses all things gaming. Coming to you from the home of Indie PopCon, Gen Con, and the gaming capital of the world, we are The Established Facts.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode, 195 to be exact.
Another 100 episode? 95.
No, it's another episode 195 because we're already off as it is.
There's a secret 195 that you guys have to find.
Right, so it's hidden in a treasure.
It is.
Somewhere. Interesting how that might tie in here in a few minutes.
You like how I did that?
Yeah, that was good. I'm Josh. I'm not Big Don because Big Don is running a role-playing game at his house, and I still need to get recording done. So I'm
Did you get
doing
an invitation?
so.
Is that why we're here?
Huh?
Did you not get an invitation?
No, I don't normally. That's not true. He's actually running one for his family. At least it was supposed to be his family, and I think it's transitioned to friends, and it's a thing. I know. I heard Bonnie comment about it. It was like, this was supposed to be a family one, so I'm totally in on it. And then like half of our family quit, and we brought friends in, and now I'm still playing, and I wasn't sure why.
The introvert in me wants me to leave my own house.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyways, why don't we real quick just go around and introduce ourselves?
This is Dr. Deb.
And I'm Lance.
And of course, as I said, I'm Josh.
And that's it.
That
We're alone, folks.
This enormous table.
This is the
We've
party.
got 3 people.
Thank you for sitting in the middle of the table so that Josh and I being at the opposite ends of this 17-person table.
Exactly. It looks very nice. It looks like you're like chairing the meeting from either end. So,
Sure.
you each need a gavel. And
I gotta take up I gotta take at the end of a table anyways because they end up with recording gear in front of me,
that
and
is
then
true.
based off what today's topic is, I got a dungeon in front of me.
yeah. And then Lance has got this notebook set up kind of going. So he looks very much like
My notebook becomes
he's
a
organized
DM screen.
and becomes a DM screen. So whereas me, I got a knitting bag next to me here. I got notes kind of scattered. I'm more the
So your basic gaming table.
It is.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's right. So we'll discuss. That should be a future
There are
discussion.
books, there are dice
what
on the
gaming
table.
setup. If you could have your dream game table setup, what would you have? Like, would there be snacks? Would there be no snacks? Would there be drinks? Would there be no drinks?
Either way, it should be based by Carolina Game
There'd be a
Tables
concession
table.
stand in
Yes,
the
it
corner
should. That's
so
true.
I could make money on people that were buying snacks.
That's exactly right.
We are not sponsored by them by any means.
No, we are
if
not.
Carolina Game Tables is out of your price range, that's mid tier. Any higher, wow.
Yeah.
Your lower end, your Table of Ultimate Gaming, they'll look interesting, are a little less expensive, but they're not quite the quality.
Or, there's Home Depot.
Home Depot, make your own. Look, I made one for $125 that we used for 3 years.
You did. That's exactly right. And then
We are
ended up-
also not sponsored by Home Depot.
No,
We are.
not at all.
No.
I made mine through Menards.
It was
All my stuff
Menards
is
that day,
this
so
time,
there you go. We're
Maynard's.
covering all. So,
Maynard's.
yeah, and our gaming shelves is from IKEA. So how many stores have
Our
we
gaming
mentioned?
half our house is IKEA
That's
right now.
true.
Do we miss at Lowe's?
Lowe's, true. Lowe's is good. Those are Menards shelves too. So,
Yeah. I was at Lowe's today wandering around. So there's your random.
We're bargain shoppers. if
Yeah,
you're
we
not
are.
aware.
That's so true.
Anywho,
What are we
this
doing
is
again?
supposed to be a podcast.
Well, we're talking about building.
We are. We are.
Is that what you did there?
There you
It's
go.
like you have radio experience or something.
Exactly. Are you sure you shouldn't be hosting this?
No, he likes watching me squirm in the hosting position.
I hosted my own radio show for many years.
Have no desire to do it again.
All right, so kind of today's topic is actually going to be stemmed around building dungeons. We've talked a lot recently about the characters and the different curve that come with your classes in standard fantasy role-playing games. So we wanted to take a break because we are going to come back. I know we keep saying that, but we are going to come back and look at
We
the
aren't
prestige
lying.
classes and
We're taking our time.
multi-classing,
That's
and
different.
things along those lines. But
I've still got a 20th level necromancer waiting on you guys.
yeah, I know.
Yes, we know
I don't
you do.
have the tools for that yet, but
Maybe that's why we're stalling.
we're
I
all-
think
well,
we figured
no,
it out.
I think we're going to aim for episode 200 around PopCon time. Because PopCon has become a home convention for us and for Breakfast Anytime,
Well,
so we want to make
Indie
a big deal out of
PopCon,
it.
right?
Right,
Well,
indie,
PopCon
yeah.
Indie.
PopCon
PopCon
Indie.
Indie.
It's important we say that because there's PopCon Indie, and there. I'm not going to say there was in terms that there won't be any more, but there's PopCon Fort Wayne.
There has been a
But they
PopCon.
cannot have one this year because the Fort Wayne Convention Center is booked like all year. So
Well, I
they're
heard
hoping for
Iowa
that.
has their own. They're famous for their popcorn.
Popcorn? Oh, okay.
Yep.
But there's more than popcorn in Indiana. Anyways, that was horrible. I'm sorry.
The Indiana State Fair one year, it was like popcorn, or corn was their theme, and I remember there was lots and lots of popcorn that year. That's random, but there you
That's
go.
okay. So,
Random encounter just happened.
speaking of, our versus topic, again, it's like you've done this before. Our versus topic today is actually simmed around
How do you gain your XP?
exactly.
Yeah.
How do you level up? What is your favorite way to level up? And we wanted to kind of summarize these down.
So up these
'cause
downs.
that's a phrase.
Let's up these downs.
Up these
Wait,
downs.
that's another.
Thanks, Simon Miller. What
Thank
culture?
you. How many are we going to drop? Are we going to
So
drop
many.
today?
We're going to do encounters versus exploration. So, an encounter being usually a battle with a monster of some sort,
Or NPCs.
or NPCs, or an encounter also includes your traps, your puzzles, stuff along those lines. Yeah, it does if they require a check. A puzzle that does not and requires your own personal intellect because you've gone through exploring and found this would more lie under exploration. Because even in exploration, if you're having a conversation with an NPC and it doesn't require a check, it's not really an encounter. Or would you disagree?
I would disagree.
Well, then
I think encounters are, this again, my opinion. You're the host. You run the game.
Versus topic.
But for me, encounters are things that you that run into you, versus exploration are things that you run into.
really,
Yeah.
okay. I kind of like where that's going. Let's go with that.
Let's just go
It's
with that.
interesting because it's because yeah. All right, let's get our opinions. Encounter versus exploration under the guise that an encounter is something runs into you, and exploration is you run into something.
I'm just picturing walking around and somebody who just like face plants into the middle of a wall and went, "Well, that was a great encounter."
It's the concept of the old slapstick comedy where they both come around the corner and they bump into each other.
Right.
Is that an encounter or an exploration?
Yes.
Exactly. There should be double XP for that, don't you all think? Okay.
Whoever wins gets the XP.
Here. All right. So what are you doing? Oh, me?
Yeah.
Okay. So how do I want to gain my XP? Encounter versus what's that?
Exploration.
Exploration. I would say encounter. I want to.
You'd rather them run into you?
No, the other way around. Sorry. I'd rather have the control. I would rather run into them. I would rather decide to bust the door in and say, "Here I am. I just spoiled your dinner." I would rather be that than have them wander in and be like, "Hi, I'm spoiling your dinner." And I'd be like, "Oh, no, you're not." So, exploration.
It's like you read my mind because I'm the exact opposite. I am the encounter person.
You're the encounter person. You
because
just want to wander.
I picture many dungeons or lair encounters as these people were sitting down to a nice dinner. You kicked open their door, and now they have to fight you because they're going to protect their family.
Exactly. So that's hilarious. So Lance and I. So you are the splitter.
Oh no, mine is definitely exploration.
You just want to go in and smash things.
Because
How did
not
I
only
know
as a
that?
game master do I love running dungeon crawls, I love going into dungeon crawls. I love running in and just finding this crazy stuff. And like, I'm not necessarily out because I love playing good characters, so I'm not out to just slaughter everything. But going into the dungeon for fortune and glory like that, I am so stereotypical when it comes to that. I am all about it. So since that's the case, Lance, since you're the standout,
You are the odd man out.
Other than the envisioning that we're kicking down somebody's home, what is it that pushes you towards the encounter lifestyle?
I tend to play good characters, and the way I play, and typically neutral or lawful good characters. I'm kind of a pacifist when I play my characters, in that I will join a party going to do the thing for a greater good cause. But again, I have the problem with, man, we're just going to go in there and we're going to steal someone else's stuff. Why are we going to steal someone else's stuff? Is there a reason? Can you give me a good, and I air quotes around the word good, reason that we're going to steal someone else's stuff?
Not just one that's justification, but one that's not evil.
Correct. A good reason. So-and-so Lich has become active, and you are going to go find a phylactery. Okay. There is a good enough reason that you are going to stop evil to go into this place and find this thing and then take it from there or destroy it. That's a good reason. But we moved into this land and a dragon came and started destroying all of our crops, and we started sacrificing one of the girls of the village every year on the third blood moon of the harvest month. That's something that you did. You moved into his territory. So why is that a problem? You can leave. You can choose to move. So I like encounters because they come to you, and now you get to defend yourself.
It just became like a political show.
We are apolitical.
This is now our land. Roar! Get out!
You are not going to start singing All the Colors of the Wind
Dragon!
from Pocahontas.
Go work out a peace treaty with the dragon.
Yeah.
Now, see, because there now
Look,
you come into
if you have a bard with a big enough charisma,
That's true. I
you
was
don't have to
gonna
work out a
say.
peace treaty. The dragon will ask for one.
Yeah. Bard, rogue, if they can aid. Yeah, I'm thinking so.
So that is dealing with how do you solve said encounter or exploration as well. Like the concept of a character who just wants to hack and slash and take all the gold and get out of there. It can be difficult to play a truly good character in that instance unless you have a morally skewed GM. I don't mean that. That's just if the way a character views good versus evil, and that almost in itself is a whole conversation topic.
it
you
is.
almost did 3 or 4 sessions on just those 2 alignments.
Oh wow!
As we should have.
Go way back in the Wayback Machine. One of these
Let's
days we'll
do
come back
the
to it and go, has
time warp
anybody's
again."
opinions changed on chaotic good versus chaotic evil? Well,
By the way, yes, it has.
I understand where chaotic evil people are coming from, because you know what? They don't have to care about anything.
Because I've grown. I am no longer in college. I am now a working person.
And therefore,
I see the world differently now.
my whole world
There are
has
days you
changed.
want to be chaotic evil, but you really shouldn't.
Yeah.
But anyways, encountering versus exploration, a lot of that does come down to where you stand and where the mission, why you are executing the mission you are executing. And I almost wonder if that is actually what changes the definition of the encounter, not encountering from the verb, but encounter the noun, where you are in a room and something, either you or it, encounters the other. The reason why you're there really can change the whole atmosphere of that room. If I legitimately was a fighter who bust down a door and saw a goblin family at dinner, I don't think I'd kill a goblin family. That's never happened.
Now, hang on. Back to your session 0. Your family was devastated by a goblin raid, and these are the goblins that did it. All boom. Now, how's your moral quandary?
Oh, yeah. It's a good point.
Do you still...
Are you asking me to give a response right now?
Yes.
Because I'm pretty sure that Dad would be done, but the kids would be fine.
Were we on good versus evil? I thought we
No.
were building a dungeon. I'm very
We
lost
are,
at what
but
episode we're on.
No, we're the encountering versus exploration. Why you're in a room? Are you in the room because you're looking for someone, particularly the goblin who raided your village, I guess, or are you in the room because you stumbled in the room, like you fell down a well and went through the door, and oh my goodness, there's a bunch of goblins. Like that's it. It's whether or not you prefer that, which is I think we've already kind of hit on. It almost can be defined by the why. Why are you there? Determines whether or not they stumbled on you or you stumbled on them, or I meant to go in there or they meant to come on you.
Or I meant to go in there, but I didn't know they'd be there.
Mm-hmm.
Is this enough circular logic for you? Because
So, Deb, what do you think?
I do agree that the why is vital, because without the why, it's the same situation. All the other pieces being the same, the what, where, when, how. When you change the why, all of a sudden it changes completely, because you could be wandering in. Well, I say wandering. Are you wandering? Are you there for a purpose? Already, that's 2 vastly different things. I'm just going around and I want all the stuff. Okay, I'm wandering around because was similar situation. My village was raided, and they believed that the raiders that took all of our stuff, it was ours to begin with, are hanging out here. I'm going to take their stuff, but it was originally our stuff, so I'm going to take our stuff back. Different situation. I'm wondering, because I think they're here, but I'm not totally sure where they're at. It's a whole bunch of hearsay and, legends and stuff like that. So I am wondering, but I'm wondering because someone's given me a clue, and I'm trying to figure out if there's truth to the clue. All of those things will change it, as opposed to I hate all goblins because one of them made a face at me when I was 4, and therefore I'm going to kill all the goblins. Okay, you've got PTSD. No offense to those who have it, but that's what it is in a way.
Sounds like a lawful evil barbarian.
Yes, actually, it absolutely does. So, yeah, I agree that the why matters, and so I think that's why if you're playing, even if you're doing a one-shot, you still need to at least know enough about why are we going on this mission again, and does this mission give my character any sort of moral questioning, because there could be some great role play that goes on with that. So you have to know enough why about you, and why are we doing the thing we're doing. Is that going to totally gel? Is that going to create conflict? In which case, if you play it right, that could be a really interesting session. So, yeah, I think why matters most, because to identical situations everywhere else, but you change the why, you change the game.
And that can kind of lead us into the main topic. When you're the GM or the DM, as if you're playing Dungeons & Dragons, you have to know what motivates your players when you're building the dungeon, or the lair, as I like to call it, because dungeons are really just torture chambers, and I really don't think those are fun to explore unless you're already that chaotic evil person.
Right. Joker would have a great time, as opposed to, everybody else. But that's a good point.
Yeah.
So before you even put a pen to paper or start dreaming up your lair, what players are going to be playing in it? Or is it a generic where you're like, I don't know who's going to play in it? So you have to know that and think about it. If my players are more of the exploration, if my players are more the encounter, is there enough that both of them can get excited and sink their teeth into it? Or if people only want to explore and it's all encounters, they're going to get really frustrated after about the third time that happens. Same way the other way around.
But then again, having a mixture of both, I think provides for a balanced dungeon.
Correct. But you have to realize your own leaning. As a DM GM, you have your own preference. And my dream dungeon I'm going to build is all exploration. Well, you may be having a wonderful time, but your players won't. So you kind of have to do a little bit of self-exploration, like that exploration self. Anyway, to say, what are your hang-ups? What are the things you hate and you're just not going to put in there, although other people may really like them? What are the things that you love and other people are like, oh gosh, I hate this? You have to know that before you go in so that you're able to create enough variety, enough interest, that you can hold the attention of a group of players who are not all you. You're not running a table for all you. So I just was thinking, if you don't realize your own problem, somebody go in there and you may just love goblins and every single thing is goblins, and your players are like, oh, if I see one more goblin, I'm going to quit. So knowing the way you lean so that you can make adjustments in decisions you would normally make, I think is a smart thing before you start building your dungeon.
And that's where we go back to, we talked about having a session zero, pardon me, folks. Right. Where you can learn that about your players and their characters, what motivates them, what happened to them in the past, and then you can form that into this giant encounter if that's what you're going to do. You can also make a dungeon encounter or an expedition a one-shot if you want to, kind of break the monotony of not everybody showed up at the game today. We don't want to really press on with the main storyline, but look over there's a cave.
Yep. Explore the cave.
Or encounter the cave.
Or encounter the
cave.
The cave can come to you.
The cave came to you. There's a whole lot going on there, too.
You know what? We're going to go a mile further down the road. You go a mile further down the road, turn to the right. There's the cave.
And there's the same cave.
It's the same cave.
We're in a time loop. Hey, that's cool. That's cool. All right. But, yeah.
Never, ever have I felt a cave beckon at me like this one does. Come into me.
That's...
What?
Okay.
It's a very dirty cave.
That got awkward for just
dirt.
a second.
It's full of soot.
It's
Full
very,
of
very
soot.
dirty. Yes, it is.
All right, so
Speaking of caves,
let's get into actually building a dungeon and some of the things that come up as the builder before you even set pen to paper are things you need to know about the dungeon itself. Such as, why? Why is there a dungeon?
why is there a dungeon? It's a
Yeah.
very important thing. You see, I'm sure everybody's seen the meme where it's like, you know what? I got this really cool treasure, but now I need to protect it. So I got to put a wall around my house. Well, they keep coming through the wall. Well, I better put up a couple of other rooms. You know what? I need to fill them with some guards. So put some other monsters in. And before you even know it, you've become the villain.
Yes. So that's pretty much basically what goes on. So first off, if a dungeon is built, someone has to have built it. So the first question we ask is, whose is it, or whose was it? If that even that will give you the name of your dungeon, as well as kind of an idea of what's the purpose of it. Is it there to hide an artifact? Is it there to house some great evil thing that's been imprisoned inside?
The great evil. Anyway.
Yeah, all of these things. So find out whose it is, and then you can start building. The second, you want to know why it was built, and we just touched on a few of those. What are some other reasons that someone would build a dungeon or a lair?
A place of security. If they think they're going to be attacked, it may not actually be it may be a keep. Like I'm imagining like Lord of the Rings, Two Towers. You know that you could argue that's a dungeon. I mean, the way it looked wasn't exactly pretty, wasn't exactly beautiful, but it was their place of security. It was their stronghold that they would flee to. So it might actually be designed to keep people out. But then a dungeon, I think more it's designed to keep people in. So,
I think you made a couple of times now. You keep making references to a lair.
Yes.
I think it's important to explain why you keep saying that.
Okay. Like I said before, dungeons are, for all intents and purposes, basically torture chambers and cells for the prisoners that you are going to torture. I don't find those fun because usually all you're going to find in there, if you should succeed in exploring the whole place, are severed body parts, maybe some pools of blood, and unless you are a blood or a corpse sorcerer, those aren't really going to help you a whole lot. So let's rephrase it as a lair where a thing lives and inhabits, maybe put some of its treasures around it so that it can keep an eye on them and things to keep it safe. Kind of like your house. Your house is your lair. It is where you reside. It is where you put the things that you like and want to surround yourself with. Your family stays there, so you want to protect them and your stuff, as Josh was saying, so you put a wall around it. And then, if you have a lot of stuff, you want to protect it with even more things. So maybe you get someone who roams around and drives around your neighborhood, and they are your security. And if that doesn't work for you, then maybe you get a home security system, and something is always watching, or as we would say, scrying. So think of your house as your lair, and that's better for me than dungeon, where it's just, all right, we're going into the jail. We searched this room. We found an old blanket. And taped underneath the bed, if we made our perception check and our search check, we found a map that can lead us to the next room. In one of these rooms is a key. It'll be useful later. So that's why I use lair instead of dungeon a lot.
Fantastic. Sorry about that. Got distracted a little bit. What? I admit to being distracted. It's okay. Part of the podcast. Anyways.
easily distracted.
Yep, it's truth. Okay, so the who on the layer.
And the why.
And the why. Yes. A lot of dungeons, at least that we've encountered, and I see encountered, are actually most often not actual dungeons, which is why I thought layer was a great terminology. And I've even rarely seen like underground dungeons. Like I'm in the process of running the Emerald Spire for a few of our friends. That is an underground dungeon. Multi-levels down, like 16 levels down, I think is where it goes. Or, the famous Dungeons & Dragons Undermountain.
Those are basically cities underground.
They are.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the Dwarven stronghold in Lord of the Rings, which I'm totally forgetting
It's
the
not
name
the
of.
Dwarven stronghold. It's the
It's the human one.
the Theodens, the Rohans. stronghold.
No, the dwarven one where they went into.
Okay, now you're in Fellowship of the Ring.
Okay, I said Lord of the Rings.
Correct. I said
Anyways.
Two Towers. That's
Okay.
Rowan's
Girls, you're both
stronghold.
pretty.
Exactly. The Fellowship of the Ring is Moria.
Moria,
The
thank
Mines
you.
of Moria.
Yep.
Is their stronghold.
Mines,
so there's two
mines.
strongholds.
Interesting enough there because it's a stronghold that's a mine. It is
Correct.
happened to be underground, but it's not a dungeon. It's a mine.
Minas Tirith.
Correct.
Is the city.
And Minas Tirith is the stronghold in. You see a pattern that Tolkien used. Hey, all y'all literature people out there, you see. And then you have the stronghold, your final stronghold, which is the City of Men. But it's different men than was in Two Towers,
Right.
which is a city.
That's the thing.
And that's their lair.
Either way, the dungeons that we've dealt with are mostly not dungeons. So those layers, as I like them being called now,
Ogres have layers.
ogres have layers
do.
like onions.
They have many layers.
What about parfait? Everybody loves parfait. Sorry, great reference.
Lair. Layer.
Let's enunciate.
But that almost always the story drives you to going to that layer. Like for the Emerald Spire, there was a city outside of the Spire where they were exploring. As most adventures start, you're in an inn or you're in a bar and you're having a conversation about your last meeting and someone comes up to you with a random mission for you.
Or there's an old man in the corner.
Or the
and
old man in
you know
the
that
corner.
he's got a story to tell.
Right.
And
So
he
you got to
says,
find out what's going on.
Strider.
pay for a drink of mine or give me a copper and I'll tell you the story and how you can make wealth beyond imagination.
Blah, da, da, da. Yep.
So for the Spire, they come to find out that there are multiple factions that are fighting over
Spoilers.
the information in. Not really. There are multiple factions fighting over the information that is currently in the Spire, and adventurers come from all around to try and go into the Spire and gather its fortune and whatnot. But then you find out that there's this bad guy running this portion, or that this guy stole this information. You gotta go. There's all these quests that you can do, but in the end, the quest is your reason for going in. Is your why. But that's the reason for the adventurers. The reason for why the Spire exists is all about the villain or the bad guy that's in that particular area. Like one particular level is run by a group of like hobgoblins that worship this mechanized meat processing thing. Yes, I wish I were making that up, but it is straight up. It just processes meat, and that's what these hobgoblins, I think, eat. And they worship it because it provides them food.
Oh, I remember that now. I was having a
right.
moment. Now
It was
I
so
remember
weird.
It was
And then
very
you,
weird.
as adventurers, have to figure out how to stop it from doing what it's doing. And of course, they get mad at you.
Well, yeah.
But the room exists because the people that live in it are getting food from it and worshiping this not deity, but worshiping it as a deity. So
Just a second. I want to make sure I've got this right. There is a machine that processes meat. And no one knows where it gets the meat from. It just gets meat. And these orcs,
hobgoblins, I think.
hobgoblins,
I think.
they find this thing and they say, ooh, free food. Great. And eventually it becomes deific to them.
Yes.
If it becomes deific to them and there's enough belief, does it then become actually deific? And then its purpose is to do the thing that gets it worship so that it can get more worship so it can continue to do the thing. So it is really just a self-making sausage machine.
Sure is.
Yes. Yes, it is. That is what we dealt with in one of the rooms was the self-making.
But
sausage.
that was why it existed. And who was the wizard, I think, that runs this particular area, had set this system up to make these things.
Apparently he wanted a lot of sausage.
I guess it was strange. But
He's Abe Froman,
It's not a vegan.
he's not a vegan.
Sausage
That
King of
is
Chicago.
true.
Yeah, well, you know.
So there's an example of a why.
Okay.
That's a weird example, I know, but that's really what happened.
So then do you say that there should be okay, so we need to know who built the dungeon. We got that already.
Yep.
And then we go on to number 2?
Why?
Why? So why for the whole thing? Why for each room? Is that too much detail?
Well,
Does each room have a purpose? Do you need to imagine this as in what was the purpose for the dude or dudette who created it? Does each room have a purpose?
That gets us into the next question. Is
Aha.
it natural or man-made?
Aha.
If it's man-made, then there is in fact a reason for every room. And if you're a good GM, DM trying to create this thing, there should be a purpose for a room. Even if it's just a coat closet,
Right.
the room has a purpose. Think about your house again. Is there a room that you have in your house that doesn't have anything in it?
No. No.
I mean, aside from a guest room that maybe only has a bed in it.
Right. Which we don't even have that. No,
Not
that
many
often.
houses have those. Not many office buildings have those.
Correct.
Usually, if there's an empty room, they find a way to fill it to maximize
Right.
the ability of that company to do something. So if it's a natural thing, maybe there are some empty rooms. Or if there's an empty room, what used to be in there?
Gotcha. Yep.
Okay. Is that where something sleeps and now it's up and wandering around?
Right.
Is that where something
Did something used to live there and now it's
someone
dead?
found it?
Right.
And now they've taken it away and more purpose. So natural man-made or human-made or orc-made or dwarf-made, whatever, is the next question.
Okay.
After that, has it been upkept or is it in ruins?
That is a surprisingly interesting detail when you walk into a dungeon. Because
Yes.
if it is pristine, you know someone's here or something magical is going on. It's when things are in ruins that you're most like you almost learn something immediately as soon as you walk in the room when that happens. Thank you, perception. But as a builder too, you can very easily throw off a party by building a dungeon that is in ruins but occupied by people. Like, why in the world are there people living in ruins? It's a whole conversation right there.
Got a homeless band of wandering nomads that they just took up residence there. Now, here's the thing. What if it is mostly in ruins, but you find one room that is pristine? What do you think about that room?
I'm scared.
Why?
Because something's going to come out that has been taking care of it, and they're going to get mad that I brought my muddy footprints into their pristine room, and they won't kill me. Or try.
Josh? What do you think about a room like that?
I mean, as a game master, I think it's an interesting twist. But as a player, yeah, I'd be suspicious because if everything else is ruined and this one area is pristine, it leads me to believe that there's a person of interest occupying this particular room.
Or there's a magical effect that has permanency on it, or something close to that, that's keeping it looking this way. Or maybe it isn't really this way, and that's all that I'm seeing because of some sort of an illusion spell. So you've got a lot of options in regards to what it could be. So throwing it at players could be fascinating to
Somebody
watch
left
what
a
they
gelatinous
do.
cube just laying around, and this is the one place it can stay.
Right.
So it just wanders around cleaning.
Exactly. And then you're going to face a gelatinous cube, and no one wants to face a gelatinous cube.
It's true.
Or in fact, it's actually, covered in moss and cobwebs and spiders or whatever, but there's an illusion that's been cast or whatever. So it would be very interesting to see what a group of people would do with a room like that. Like, that would be free entertainment to me if I'm the GM and I know and watch, okay, what are they going to do? They're going to be like, oh, this is beautiful, or wait, detect magic, or don't detect magic, or whatever. It would be.
It was interesting to me that the first thing that both of you said was, it would make me nervous to find a very clean room in a abandoned and
We
ruined and
want
dilapidated
things
place.
to match. As human beings, we're constantly looking for
Patterns.
Symmetry.
Thank you. There's the word. I'm like, we want things to match. If I'm walking into a house, the whole style of the house should match. If there's one room that looks really eclectic and everything else is this beautiful traditional look, it's
You know
like
they have a teenager.
that's true. Or what is going on here? Did you guys remodel everything except this room? Like, what? Why? Because it immediately puts my brain into a tizzy. So if you're trying to put your players into a tizzy, do something like that, or have everything pristine, but one room is just absolutely ramshackle and gross and everything else is pristine, and watch what happens.
So I need to correct myself on the conversation I just had talking about this particular dungeon level.
Did you get a tweet?
Approved. No, but an interesting. I was like, a lot about what I said was incorrect.
You mean the meat machine isn't a real
No,
thing?
it is a real thing.
Okay.
So number one,
That's gonna be your
it's
new
level
nickname, by the way.
4 of the Emerald Spire, written by Frank Metzner, who you mentioned
Frankie.
earlier, right?
Frank.
Number 2, there is a food and water chamber on either side of this super magnet, which is what was different about it. And the super magnet was semi-intelligent, and it was putting that food there by opening portals. However, because it's a super magnet, anyone that was in the near the level, their weapons were literally getting sucked to the magnet.
Yeah.
Which is why they had to stop it, because they were losing things. But when they stopped it, it forced the water and food to stop being infinitely refreshed.
So what you're saying is send a group of druids in.
Yes.
And finally, they were troglodytes, not hobgoblins. So I wanted to make
troglodytes are so much more intelligent than hobgoblins.
Frank spent time writing it. If I'm going to talk about it, I at least give credit to where the truth is the truth. Okay?
Thank you.
I appreciate that. And if you're listening, Mr. Metzner, thank you very much for listening.
Yes.
And we're sorry.
And we're sorry.
My favorite part about that level was when they went in there and they figured out the puzzle with the super magnet. Immediately, the troglodytes were like, "You stopped our deity!" And they were ready to attack. And immediately, the bard character diplomacied them out of their mind, saying that the god had left them so they could be free. And now none of them were fighting. I'm like, I can't.
That's quick thinking. I like it.
It was really good.
Yeah, you know who it was who did it. Y'all know it, whether you know it or not. So, should we give away who it was?
Was it Mike?
No, that was
I
Derek.
didn't think so. I thought it was. Yeah,
That was Derek.
So it's Derek and Dan. I'm pretty sure we're on that one. But,
They were. Yeah, they were.
Yeah, so that was fun.
You can't beat it, seduce it.
That's
how it
exactly.
works.
Yeah,
I guess so.
If you're a bard, All right.
Next one.
Moving on. The climate. Is it cold? Is it warm? Is it muggy? Is it moist?
Moist. That's
Is it-
not a word you want when you're exploring
Is it
anything.
arid?
Going into so if a dungeon is underground and also arid, it can throw characters off because that's arid is not something you find in an underground environment. You just don't. But it can lead for interesting challenges. Things like
There must be a source of heat somewhere.
Right.
Exactly.
Environmental effects.
and something that's
Being in the
taking your
desert,
water
being affected by heat, the lack of water. If a game master is following standard rules, physics, you
physics.
can't be.
Hi, Adam.
Hi,
You can't
Adam.
be in an arid dungeon for 24 hours without noticing you don't have any water.
Right. You're going to get thirsty. Thirsty. So
But
better
when
have
you're
great food
building
and
that
water.
dungeon, if that is a challenge you want to see your players and how they are impacted by it, it's a great way to do any of those environmentals. Cold. Like, what if they open up the door and it's a tundra?
Yeah.
Like, just snow everywhere. Right in the middle of the castle. Like, the great freedom that comes with playing a fantasy role-playing game like this just blows my mind. As long as you don't open the door and you're sucked out into the vacuum of space. Don't purposefully...
Then you're playing Starfinder.
Exactly. Then you're in another one. You're not,
I mean, it's a thing that can happen. It's like, hey, guys, I found the void.
yep, it's right here.
And it's not
Hi,
even
Tracy.
a VR simulator.
And it's not even into Walt Disney World.
Anywho,
I like it. And you just want an arid environment so you can create water, Lance. I
And
know
look,
that's why.
It is my favorite spell
It is
for
your
so many
favorite
reasons.
spell. Yes.
So
But
many.
not just the interior climate, but the exterior climate. Is there a vast difference? So if you're in a temperate forest and you go in and it is exceedingly dry, something is up. Like
Right.
you said before, people like Synergy. They expect to go down into a dark, maybe
Moist.
a damp
Yeah, some
environment.
underwater rivers, some underwater, pools, that sort of thing is what I would be expecting if I'm doing that. And if you're, nope, that's not how it is at all. Yeah, you've got my brain. Now you've really got me thinking.
And Josh touched on a thing called the Boy Scout dungeon, where the only thing that's in there is what you bring with you. So if you run out of water, you don't have any water. What are you going to do?
What are you gonna do?
You better have a cleric
Right.
or someone that can
Or an
cast
oracle
create
who
water.
can cast create water.
Which is one of the
Or
reasons
create
that I
food
have
water.
that spell in my mind, because I ran into one of those things.
Ah,
where,
wow.
oh, you're 3 hours into this, and none of you have thought to say that you drank anything. Oh, darn it.
Right.
I guess we're drinking healing potions just to stay hydrated.
To stay hydrated. Wow. That's a tough DM right there. So, all right. Or a tough module.
I learned from some really nice writers back in the day.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've come up with our climate, and we know whose it is. We know why that person or group of people, things, beings made it. We know if it's natural or man-made. We know if it's an upkeep or in ruins. Next, we need to know, where does it start? Do we start at the ground level and go up? Do we start at the ground level and go down? Mm-hmm. Or have we been thrown to the top of this thing, and as long as we make it down, we escape?
Mm-hmm.
That's a fun one.
Or have we fallen down, like you said before, fallen down a well, and now we have to work our way back up?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Frog God and Rappanathic.
Yep, pretty much.
Or Batman.
Or Batman. Yes, that. Mm-hmm.
I worked my way into the night.
Fell down a well.
Yep. Little Timmy's
Found some caves under the house, Dad.
Where's Lassie? Lassie's got to get us out.
Here's what I think we should do. We should put a giant supercomputer down here, Dad.
Yeah.
Well, by the time he did that, there was no Dad to ask that.
That's true. Oh, Alfred.
It depends on when you're at the storyline.
That is true. Well, I guess that's true.
Or whose tale you're telling.
Who's telling the story is probably more accurate.
I love that sounds like a fun concept of building a tower where you dropped off at the top and have to work your way down, because I've commonly seen you have to go up to the top of the tower to get to the main bad guy.
Right.
Well, you dropped up top and you got to work your way down.
Yeah.
That could be
By going up a level, you can progress to going down levels.
Whoa, you just broke my brain.
things get more difficult as you come down instead of going up. Like, wait, what? No. Don't
What
do
about
that.
worse? What about you got portaled into the middle and you have to figure out whether you're going to go down or go up?
See? I like how you think.
Say, or maybe the cool stuff is at the top, but the main bad guy's at the bottom. So do you waste?
The
Sorry,
MacGuffin
use
is at
time.
the top. And you have to go all the way up,
Yep.
like the dead baby joke, and then you
Right.
come right back down.
And then you come right back down.
Or like the stupid trick you showed me in Super Mario Brothers 3 yesterday.
It is not stupid. And
Super Mario
spoiler
Brothers
alert,
3 came out in what, 1994?
No,
Yeah.
it was even
5?
before that. I think it was like
89.
I think it was.
Oh, wait. No, the first Mario was 84. No, I think
No.
Mario 3 was either
89?
89 or 91.
Okay. So,
Either
She's
way,
checking.
what secret did you not know about this game?
First off, I have never played the entire game all the way through in any way, shape, or form.
1988, October 23rd,
That's when the
1988.
movie The Wizard came out.
It just celebrated its 30th birthday.
She informs me that if you
I
can
didn't-
get to the very last level with a P-Wing, and where you're getting ready to fight Bowser, and you can last all the way till the point of fighting Bowser, instead of encountering Bowser, if you fly all the way to the top, go on top of this piece of brick and wait a couple seconds, and then fly back down, every time he blows fireball at you, there's no fire. He's just a friggin' lizard at
just
that point
jumping on
who
you.
jumps.
He just avoid his jump,
I went,
and he kills himself.
You what?
Now, did you test this?
She
Yeah.
showed me. Like I
I
watched
did
her
in front
do
of
it.
him. I did it in front of him.
Blew my mind.
He never
You
knew
found
that
the glitch in the
secret.
Matrix.
And this was accurate because we were playing on the Switch. And so, but it kept that glitch because I did it myself first to be like, does this actually still work? Because I played through the whole game. Yes, it still worked. So then I did, okay, now it's time to play the game as fast as I possibly can.
Oh, speedruns.
It was a speed run. So then, okay, I get the double warp whistle, and then you do the double warp whistle to go straight to World 8, play World 8. And then I said, come here, I'll show you something. I was like, and then I showed him, this is Bowser's castle. And I showed the end and I was like, so before you encounter him, and I just showed him and he was like, but you can still hear the fire. It's the weirdest thing. You can't see it. It doesn't hit you, but you can hear the sound of him breathing the fire. It's such a funny glitch. So now you
Blew
know.
my mind. But that's your MacGuffin, like as you mentioned. So I literally watched a video game MacGuffin happen. That was a thing. Oh, and a video game MacGuffin that happened to us when Lord of the Rings: The Third Age was a PlayStation 2, like Japanese RPG style game where it was turn based, and the final bad guy. You're playing three adventurers that are like 30 minutes behind the Fellowship in everything. Like that's the whole game. So when they're having the big final battle at Mordor, where Aragorn is down doing his thing, and the hobbits are throwing the ring in Mount Doom,
No hobbit throws a ring in Mount Doom.
right? Well, that was their plan. It didn't happen. That was their plan. You are
That is
playing
correct. Thank
three
you.
adventurers standing on top of the tower at Mordor, fighting the Eye of Sauron. That's the main bad guy. Okay, early. Like 2 hours into the game,
get
we
a
found
stick
this.
and poke
We
it.
found this
Seriously?
potion that was basically remove armor from the enemy, and we forgot we had it. So we're standing up there and threw it at Sauron, beat him in 2 rounds.
Who was your GM for that?
It wasn't a GM.
It was a video game.
Video game.
Oh, is it?
Video game that they had built it. I don't know if they realized that they built it in that way, because you would think you'd use it on one of the lower level guys, right? Well, they had forgotten it was there. So when you use it on the biggest bad guy of all,
Frankly, it's not
rounds.
a great game. It's not. But Mike and I were just obsessed with it and wanted to finish it. And we got all the way to the end and threw that thing at it. And when it was over with, he and I looked at each other and went, "What just happened?" Because we were doing now I understand this is a Japanese RPG style, so damage numbers are ridiculous at the end of any game. But when your dwarf is not Gimli, just a dwarf, he has a name I don't remember, runs up and smacks the Eye of Sauron for 15,000 points of damage, you're going, "What? I haven't been doing that much damage this whole game. What just happened?" He had no armor. You took him down like half in one swing. It was stupid. So, yeah, there's your MacGuffin.
So there's a MacGuffin.
So
a MacGuffin
you
is also a
build
thing that
MacGuffin
you could use to defeat the final bad guy. The only thing that
Yes.
can defeat the bad
Right.
guy.
Yes.
So you know that he found it, or she found it, or it found it, and put it in its lair to protect itself from the thing. Because if it knows where it is, then
Right.
it's safe.
Yes.
So you have to go find
The
said
thing.
thing and bring it back and kill Stabby McStabberson with it.
Yay, Stabby McStabberson.
Yep. But then if you're the GM, you also, out of mercy to your players, you know, if they're we got to go just fight the bad guy, and you're like, someone needs to do a wisdom check. Someone needs to think about this, because otherwise, if they don't go after the thing and they're up there and it's like, well, that was your own dumb fault because you should have gone after the thing. I didn't know I should have gone after the thing. Anyway, so I can just imagine a group of players being like, we don't care about anything else, just beating the bad guy. Like,
Typically, if there is a MacGuffin, there is a storyline about going to get the MacGuffin.
MacGuffin, yeah,
so even
true.
if you do end up, say, trapped in the center of this lair or dungeon, and you know that the bad guy is in there, you also know that the thing is around there somewhere. You just have to spend some time grinding and finding.
yeah, do some grinding to find. Yeah, true.
It's a great reference. The question at hand, though, is a great reference to either one of our earlier established facts or one that should be location, location, location.
Yeah.
What's next?
How many tiers?
15.
How much
if
time
you're
do
the
you
Emerald
have?
Spire. Yeah.
Is it going to be a campaign, this one place where it is 16, 17 different levels, all with their own unique monsters, encounters, treasures, and traps?
Climates.
Yeah, climates was a thing.
I
One
don't know if
level
there
was
are,
almost
I
entirely
don't know if there
water.
are 16 different climates.
Well, you could probably argue. I'm sure somebody out there has a degree in climatology, don't you? And you could tell us about it. But Emerald Spire has multiple, one's like a water world. It's
Yeah.
like flipping Mario 3. One's
Oh,
a
yeah.
water world. One is like a desert. Didn't they have, wasn't there like really dusty, dry?
Land. And in Mario, they are lands. Just
Sorry,
had this
water
conversation.
land throws me off, people. There is no water and land. There is land, but water land?
Yeah,
What?
but prior to Kevin
Quicksand.
Costner's Water World,
What
there
is
was no water
quicksand?
world either.
Quicksand is quicksand.
It's water land.
Anyway. Skyland. Skyland? Land in the sky? Sky on land. Okay. Anyway. But Emerald Spire has multiple
Scottish
climates.
Island.
Each level
That's
is
a
a different
planet.
climate, which is really interesting because on one you may need tons of water, and on the other one you need to have breathe in water because everything's water. Or to get from one area to another, you have to swim to be able to get to it. And so,
Another thing about that, the lighting conditions. Like when you're determining levels, if
Yeah.
you're going underground, is it going to get darker? Is it well lit?
Dark vision,
As you're
low
going
light
up,
vision.
are you getting closer to? Is it so high that you're getting closer to the sun, and now it's getting hotter? Like
Well, the air is getting thinner.
It is getting
wouldn't
thin-
wouldn't necessarily get hotter. It might get colder,
yeah, as you're
depending
going
on your
up.
atmosphere.
correct.
Right, true.
See, all these things, great little tips and tricks that GMs and DMs think about to make the experience that much more immersive for their players.
Now, don't be overwhelmed by all of these tips. Frankly, if you wanted to, you could build like a 4-room, 30 by 30 dungeon and just throw monsters in it. And you know
Mop
what?
and bucket.
Mop and bucket. There has to be a mop and bucket. No joke. The one that I've got started for is the first room's a 30 by 30 room, and it was just for you.
Thanks, Tracy.
I know if it's 30 by 30, but it's a pretty good size room.
30
It's
by
right there in
30
the
by
middle.
30 room. It is
Yep.
somehow every time they build one, it's just a cube.
That's right. Just, they drop a cube in the middle and go.
Or it's a long hallway that only 2 people can walk through.
So yeah, the number of tiers will determine how long you spend there. and your investment has to be greater. And usually, if there is a tier, like we talked about, where it's just completely flooded, someone had to be able to get out of that or get into that. So there was probably something on the level before that that would allow you to get through there.
Yeah.
The object is now you have to find the MacGuffin to get through that level to get to the next level. So when you're thinking about that, make sure you're placing the abilities to get through. Another good thing to do is, and I will probably put this at the end, but I'll say it now, run through your dungeon. Mm-hmm. Just walk through it and say, okay, if I have to go through this doorway, what's my way to get through that? Is it locked? Is there a key? Mm-hmm. Am I able to find that key? Oh, nope, I forgot to put that key in there. Better place a key.
There's no guarantee you have Rogue that's going to be able to disable device.
If I need to be shrunk down to the size of an ant, I need to put a potion of reduced size in there. Maybe a couple
We need a Marvel Ant-Man suit.
Something like that. So be thinking about how you're going to get through the next section before you build it or after you build it. Make sure you go back and what is it, Bill and Ted? Okay, remind me, we got to do this.
Mm-hmm. But also put yourself in the boots of your possible players. You may know who your players are going to be, or you may not. But if you have a room that's locked behind a door, if they've got a rogue, they can try and unlock it. So that's when it comes down to finding things like your DCs. How difficult of a door is it? Now you're starting to get a little bit more into the details of, do you have a party? Is this designed for a party of 4 fourth level characters? Is it designed for 2 or 4 second level characters? Whatever.
And that takes care of challenge rating.
Oh, okay. Was that the next one? Or
Yep.
Okay.
The challenge rating by tier.
Yeah.
planned that, everybody. We
As you
planned
walk
that.
through and you've determined what needs to be locked, your challenge rating is going to determine how difficult that lock needs to be, because your players may come in able to just bust down your doors. They may be able to unlock every door they have. Or you may have to say, no, this door requires a key. And that is something, whether players like it or not, you as the game master have every right to do. Which means they got to go find a key.
Well, let's say your players come to a T intersection. On one side is a door. It is locked. On the other side is a door that has obviously been opened by someone before. Which way are you going to go? Mm-hmm. Are you going to follow the person or group or whoever that's been down that way, or are you going to try something that no one else has been able to do yet?
Mm-hmm. And that's going to be interesting because that'll change depending on your party. You have the exact same dungeon, a whole new group of 6 players, and they'll do something completely different. We know. We've done this to several GMs that we know. And everyone expected us to do the thing, and we're like, no, we're not going to do the thing. We're going to do this. And they're like, I guess you can do that, and it totally throws them off. Do that thing that would throw you off and figure out what how would you respond as a GM to I didn't think you could do that.
Well, I can, and I did, and I'll do it again.
That's right.
Coming up next is occupants. Is it abandoned? Or do things live there? Usually, if something is abandoned, something will find a way to live there.
So things that
True.
used to live, are they still living there?
Or are they unliving there?
Exactly.
That's another good one. Typically, the challenge rating difficulty increases the further into the encounter or layer, dungeon that you go into.
Unless
However,
you just you make an accident and you walk through the wrong door.
That's fine.
That's, yeah. I was going to say you make a shortcut to several levels more difficult, which, or I was like, or can that be another aspect of throwing your players off a little bit of, you just came through a really tough room, let's say, and then all of a sudden you walk in and there's just like 3 skeletons. Is this really 3 skeletons? Nope. No, there's got to be something more. No, really, I think it's just 3 skeletons. No, there's got to be something else hiding around here. Do you know how tough that last one was? There's no way it's this easy. Again, you could seriously throw them off by harder, easier, medium, easier, hard. Like, you could do that where the rooms are vastly different. Or you could be very balanced, where each room is fairly similar and slowly increasing in strength. I think the offset would be more entertaining, because then you got people like, are we really done in this room? There's got to be something more. Like, have we searched it like 7 times? Because there's no way it's just 3 skeletons in here. I think that would be funny.
But also don't be afraid to have bigger bad guys build in a way for them to run away. I'm talking about the bad guys running away because
For later.
I remember because the game that I'm going to be running tomorrow, I'm
saving it
nearly
for
positive
later.
you guys finished this last level because the main bad guy ran to another level.
I think so too.
Because there were two really big and beefy challenge rating 7 characters in the same room, but they put in the text that if such and such thing happens, this particular person leaves.
I'm nearly positive so, because I remember going, really? Because I wanted to smash him because I'm a paladin.
Because it's totally okay to scare your characters.
Yeah.
But I am not a proponent of total party kill just because. Total party kill because you bad rolls or total party kill because it did something stupid. That's another thing. But just to put something in there that's so
That you know it's
ridiculously,
doable.
you
Right.
know they can't complete it.
Right.
I think I disagree with that mentality.
Well, are they mindless inhabitants, or do they have a conscience? Are they aware? Are they cognizant?
Right.
Do they know what
Do
danger
they have a
is?
choice?
Because again, someone comes into my house. If they come busting through that door with a howitzer, you darn right, I'm not going to face them with the little shotgun. I'm going to go back up into my room and hide, and hopefully they leave before they come upstairs. And if they do, I'm barricading the door. I'm doing these other things to protect myself and my family. I would run from an encounter that, they look a little bit stronger than I thought they were going to be. Let's go to another area where maybe there's a few stronger things.
I was
give
going
me
to say,
some
run
time
and find my
to
good
set up
friend
some
who's a little
defenses.
stronger or has some skills I don't have, who's 2 levels above me, thinking like a bad guy. I'm going to go and we're going to gang up on them when they do finally come up.
It takes me an hour to summon this thing. I'm going to need that time.
Yep, I'm out of here.
You guys
for this.
go ahead.
Yeah, do the thing. I'll see you.
I'll
in an
be right
hour.
behind you, promise.
Right. Yeah. So, but I wouldn't say necessarily ever throwing something. Yeah, TPK is not a fair thing, but making something hard, like where they're going to have to work for it, and then backing it way down to where they hardly have to work for it at all to see, what they do with it.
So, I'm looking at your list over there, Lance, and it looks like we're
That's not a list. That's a book.
It is, but it looks like we're only about halfway through. Am I correct?
We're getting there. We're getting to the halfway
We're
point.
getting to the halfway
Or more
point.
like a third. Let's be more accurate here.
we're-
Okay.
We can move a little faster though if we split it up.
I think it's been good.
It has. Because we reached the halfway point, I think we're going to change up the next episode, and we're going to do a part 2. I hope everybody's enjoying hearing the dungeon building thoughts and machinations of the three
I
of
hear
us.
notebooks out and people writing and doodling now, and I think I hear it out there.
Okay,
Ooh, that's
sure,
a good idea.
sure.
Maybe I should make a dungeon.
Maybe you should get mentally checked if that's what you're hearing.
I can see it. I can imagine it. The theater of the mind.
Oh, theater of the mind. Okay.
Well done.
Well, I do remember that during episode 194, we did not have a fact because Don and I just kind of did an overview of Hoosier Con.
Factless?
We were
Should be
factless on that
ashamed.
one. I do not have written down what the one for 193 was, but I hope those that watched WrestleMania enjoyed WrestleMania because I know we did. And for the most part. I don't know if we'll ever do a post, but we'd love to hear your thoughts on it if you listen to it. And if you went to Hoosier Con, what's your thoughts on that? But for this one, I came up with a fact. Do we have anything else we want to throw in for today's episode? I believe this is going to drop sometime in April, so keep in mind PopCon's coming up in June, in conjunction in July, Gen Con in August. And just
Comic-Con.
keep checking us out. Comic-Con, Indiana Comic Convention is the end of August, early September. Is it Labor Day
It is that
weekend?
wraparound.
It's a wraparound. Okay, so it's a weekend before Labor Day. So my established fact for this episode is when exploring a dungeon looking for an encounter, you should hope to encounter an encounter with a worth exploring.
I think I followed that.
Exactly. You should hope to
After
encounter
the
an
conversation
encounter
we had earlier,
worth
you
exploring.
should be able to follow that.
Yeah.
Okay. I maybe because I
Do you
didn't
want me
hear
to repeat
clearly.
it?
Yes. So for all of our listeners, slower.
When exploring a dungeon looking for an encounter, you should hope to encounter an encounter worth exploring.
Okay. Got it. Yes.
Okay.
English, me hearing it clearly, these things matter.
Good.
Yes.
Well, thank you all for listening to episode 195. And in good old-fashioned Don, we will catch you later.
Bye.
Bye. Deuces.
Bonus.
Please visit us at www.theestablishedfacts.com and our Facebook page, facebook.com/theestablishedfacts. If you would like to support us by buying some merchandise, visit cafepress.com/castingrobot.
Bonus.